Do you enjoy pushing innocent, unsuspecting concert goers into a mosh pit and watching them get swallowed by the crowd? Do you enjoy lights that are so blinding you begin to confuse left from right, up from down and right from wrong? Do you enjoy metal, trap, techno and Mongolian throat singing? Well, either you went to the Lil Darkie show in London, or you should probably consider seeing this spindly little fella. After travelling through Brixton and getting myself accustomed to the locals, I entered the venue. Immediately I was met with two men on stage bouncing around with head torches. Obviously they've been mining and inspecting their minerals extremely hard as of late. This was one of the support acts. What I immediately noticed upon entering was the feral crowd. Usually my experience with support acts is a few die-hard fans at the front going loopy, with the rest just standing and waiting. Not in this case. As soon as a kick drum or an 808 played over the speakers, the crowd would break into a rapid mosh pit themed frenzy with various creatures skanking out within the pit. Apart from being consistently blinded by the oil rig cosplayers on stage, the aesthetic of the headlamps was actually pretty sick and not something I've seen at many shows. The opening act combined various electronic music genres including gabba, breakcore and anything else under the genre that would violently rattle the frontal lobe and hospitalise most of the elderly. The next support act was Bad Lad, who was well and truly British. I would say he was local to the area, but he's actually from Oxford and not Brixton. Bad Lad was accompanied by the crustiest looking metalcore band I've ever seen, one of which immediately let out an intense guttural. Not gonna lie, low pitched screeches kind of became a trend throughout the night. Bad Lad performed metal covers of some of his songs, which was sick. There's nothing worse than going to a rap show and being met by a DJ pressing play on the instrumental whilst the artist groans and grunts in auto-tune over the beat. The stage presence was sick, and the inclusion of a live band gave the audience something unique in the way of versions of the songs that not only sounded way better in a live setting, but were also completely unique to the concert. Although the crowd were pretty feral, they followed orders pretty well. Bad Lad got everybody to kneel down until the drop for one of his songs, obviously to let the Short Kings get a good look at the action. After a few songs, Bad Lad summoned Lil Darkie, who spawned in, looking not too dissimilar from the person I saw sleeping on the bench outside the venue. Of course, anyone who spawns in like that must spawn in with an item, and in this case Darkie was wielding a British flag, swinging that shit around. Darkie doesn't really seem like the patriotic type, and would use the flag for various things throughout the gig, including wearing it as a hat and throwing it into the crowd, where it was immediately torn to shreds by a group of rabid kids with black painted nails and enough silver jewellery to control an army of crows. Bad Lad and Darkie would perform a few songs together until Bad Lad bid his farewells, exclaiming that he hopes he'll return one day, even though he grew up an hour away from the venue, so I don't think a return is too out of the question. As soon as Bad Lad left, Darkie began throat singing whilst Wendigo played MLG sound effects over the speakers. There was actually a reason for this, believe it or not. They were setting up a drum kit, which actually highlights something I really appreciated. There was literally no downtime. Most of the time, the support act leaves and the crowd is left playing Crossy Road and swiping on Tinder to keep their dopamine flooded brain from switching off. This wasn't the case. Darkie was on stage before Bad Lad even left, and even when the instruments were being set up, he still kept the crowd entertained, even if it did sound extremely cursed. Just to add, whilst Darkie was throat singing over the THQ intro, the crowd immediately formed a mosh pit in anticipation. My only wish was that Darkie opened up with one of his Karma songs to see how the crowd would have reacted. This didn't happen. He started with Trap Metal, which is a song that's purposely low effort. Regardless, the live drums consistently added to the simpler instrumentals that weren't really suitable for the full live band. One thing that became pretty clear is that Darkie had a Jeff Mangum level of hatred of phones.
Put your phone away and be here in the moment.
And immediately locked eyes with my filmer and said this. My filmer just responded with this look. Although I do agree with the whole phone thing to a point, I don't really enjoy when artists get all pissy about it. Concert goers contribute to an artist's income as a whole. They should be able to do what they want without having to worry about some sweaty beast stealing their phone because Lil Darkie told them to. And it's not like Darkie didn't have a ravenous section of the crowd who were literally willing to do anything he asked them. Darkie was pretty good at timing the slower songs within the set. You could only put up with getting smashed in the head with a studded bracelet a few times before you just want to leave the pit and vibe out for a bit. For the majority of the songs that weren't just pure 808 and hi-hat, Darkie had Wendigo and Salsa playing guitar and bass respectively, resulting in many of the songs being instrumental covers that sounded vastly different from the studio version. Another key event in the show was an improvised jam session with the band, with Darkie intensely blowing on some Star Wars type device that wasn't mixed properly, meaning none of the crowd could hear it. Although the jam was a welcome surprise, it was kind of out of time at parts, and for some reason whipped the crowd into a frenzy. Especially anyone under 5'7" for some reason, as they all seemed to link arms and form some sort of fleshy e-boy amalgamation, and although there were 6 people linked together, they were still getting absolutely violated in the pit. Occasionally during some mosh pits, the majority of the crowd were actually late for the drop, leaving me looking confused and slightly autistic, jumping on my own in the middle of the circle before eventually getting swarmed. Another interesting moment was when Darkie, Salsa and Wendigo performed a song that they had actually made on tour. And although I literally did not understand a word they said, as I was kind of mesmerised by the way Salsa was able to contort his body, I still appreciated hearing a song that will likely be exclusively played on the Europe tour. Darkie also did his best impression of a UK hip hop artist, which kind of felt weird considering he was literally supported by a UK hip hop artist. Darkie closed the set with the song Holocaust, which resulted in a pit that was literally the size of the standing area in the venue, which I instinctively stood in the middle and just waited for the very edgy pylon that ensued. Darkie left after that. My filmer started chanting one more song before screaming, "Come on you cunt," riling up the crowd to chant even louder. Just to remind you, this was my filmer. Darkie came back and finished his set with "I Can See Clearly" before giving some sort of Joseph Rogan style motivational gibberish, playing SpongeBob music and leaving. What a journey. Let's touch on the crowd for a bit. No concert is enjoyable unless you're shoulder to shoulder with a greasy, sweaty edgelord. Just quickly, I don't mean to offend anyone who went to this concert with my incoherent ramblings. Most of this shit is sensationalised to make it entertaining. You're all lovely people. Now that's out of the way, I'd say there was a 1-to-3 ratio of shirtless to non-shirtless individuals, meaning sweat and grease was rocketing around the mosh pit at a rapid pace. And although a lot of the pits were pretty large, they never got stupid or overly violent outside a few people. Actually, scratch that. Some long-haired wannabe dwarf bowling balled me from across the venue for literally no reason. There wasn't even a mosh pit at the time. Actually, I take back my original statement. Everyone was lovely apart from that guy, f*** him. The crowd was pretty varied. Pretty much every Wojak you could think of was flailing their arms around. It even got to the point where I turned to my right and saw a literal child wearing what looked like a school backpack. This was contrasted by the gaggle of dads standing at the back of the venue, wondering what the f*** they were looking at. The crowd had everything. Paranoid 17-year-olds awkwardly smoking, e-girls chuffing on elf bars, and that one kid with a mask exhibiting pretty schizo behaviour that somehow seems to manifest himself in different forms at every concert I go to. As a whole, the concert was thoroughly entertaining. Before the event, I expected a trap show with metal interludes, but what I got was basically the opposite. The addition of live instrumentation added an atmosphere and charm that you rarely get at shows for artists of the same nature as Darkie. He obviously has a passion for how his live shows are presented, and wants to put on a show that remains separate from his catalogue of music in terms of experience. The concert remained entertaining throughout the support acts and seamlessly flowed from act to act without any meaningless wait. Crowd interaction was good throughout the concert as well, although it doesn't really seem like Darkie liked his fans and literally called us on multiple occasions. If you enjoy sweat, tinnitus, and the pungent combination of chronic and elf bars, maybe you should go see Lil Darkie in the future. So this is a new series, feedback will be appreciated, as this isn't a video with much valuable information, it's just basically me rambling, so I'm not really sure how it's going to be received. I'll probably continue doing them regardless whenever I go to a gig, so it won't be very regular. Back to the ignorant guys next week. Also join my Discord.